Karen is with us now.
Okay.
Professor, we admitted the audience, they are joining us. Just give us more 10 or 50 seconds. Okay.
Okay. Hello, Karen.
Good morning. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. Great, thanks.
Please, Professor, you can start.
Okay. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining us in this scientific seminar, America's regional scientific seminar on the GRC, on funding mechanisms for strengthening international cooperation within the Americas. We'll have 2 sessions today and on November the 25th. But before I really start talking about this, I would like to pass the floor to Professor Alejandro Adam, which will do the introductory remarks. Please, Alejandro.
Thank you, Euclides. Sean todos bienvenidos. Sean todos bienvenidos. Bonjour tous et toutes. Welcome, everyone. My name is Alejandro Adam, President of the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council of Canada. And it's a real pleasure for me to welcome you all to this year's edition of the Americas Scientific Workshops. As was mentioned, today we have our first workshop, and the second one will be on November 25th. The most pressing challenges facing our societies, our economies, and our planet are regional and global in nature. Challenges like climate change, biodiversity loss, urbanization, and human migration. Challenges that require us to come together to discuss, share best practices and data, and build those trusted relationships and understandings that underpin international collaboration. From there, we can leverage our research strengths and resources. We can mobilize our very best minds and talents, so together we can find the solutions and the pathways to overcome global challenges. To succeed, we must collaborate across disciplines and across borders. That is why this year's workshops are so important. You will hear from 10 funding agencies from the Americas about the research funding instruments that enable international cooperation. These workshops will provide you with opportunities to learn about each other, to connect with each other, and to build your research teams in partnership with each other. And that is exactly what we need, and precisely my hope for these workshops. In fact, that is what I am seeking to do as Vice Chair of the Governing Council of the Global Research Council, as we come together as agency heads from across the Americas and around the world. No one can articulate this better, in my opinion, than our dear friend and colleague, the Director of the U.S. National Science Foundation, Dr. Panchanathan. Please roll the tape with a few words from him.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sethuraman Panchanathan. As Director of the U.S. National Science Foundation, it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's workshop. I would like to thank everyone at the Global Research Council's Americas region for organizing this event and for continuing to champion international collaboration across the Americas and around the globe. I would also like to thank each of you for taking the time to join us today. Opportunities like this are critical to the success of the global scientific research enterprise. International collaboration and sharing of ideas, resources, and best practices between like-minded partners has always been at the very heart of scientific progress. But we are now at an important moment characterized by an urgent need to unleash new talent, bold ideas, and groundbreaking innovations to address global grand challenges. The grand challenges facing our nations do not respect national borders, scientific disciplines, industries, or timelines. They are interconnected and highly complex, requiring integrative and multidisciplinary approaches. We are here today because we all know that the best way to tackle these challenges is through a strong foundation of collaboration and partnership. To accelerate discovery across all fields of science and unlock the full innovative capacity of our nations, we must work together. The time is now for increased investments in research, technology, and STEM education, with an even greater emphasis on cross-cutting collaboration. It is my hope that today's workshop will present an opportunity to do just that. I hope that the GRC's activities throughout the Americas region will inspire you to strengthen existing partnerships, work together in new ways, and share your knowledge to best tackle the challenges ahead. We have in front of us a tremendous opportunity to build upon the foundation of partnership enabled by the GRC. These partnerships will allow us to unleash the full power of the global STEM enterprise and drive positive changes for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pench. Thank him for his very inspiring words. I want to remind folks that there is a written document available that summarizes the funding instruments from each of the agencies. If you don't have it, please request it. Also, the reminder that the second workshop will be on November 25th. And just to plug my own colleague, at this workshop, my colleague, Dr. Shweta Ganapati, will present NSERC's funding instruments. So thanks to all of you. Merci beaucoup. Gracias. Please connect, enjoy, and learn. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alejandro, for this nice introduction. I would like, before we start, I'd like to make a few remarks, some organizational, other conceptual. From the organizational point of view, we have two classes of participations here. What we call attendees is what the ones that you're seeing now on your screen. We have also a number of panelists that can interact with us through the Q&A facilities. For today, the idea is that every agency present 4 or 5 of their considered most suitable instruments for foster international collaboration in general, but also with a focus on the Americas region. We have, for this afternoon, 5 presentations. We expect each presenter to present his contribution in 15 minutes. I know the time is short, but I'll ask you for your collaboration to hold the timeline. At the end of these 5 presentations, we'll have a 30-minute for questions and comments, so I also like to reinforce the idea that we want to compile this list of mechanisms within the document that should be posted at the GRC website under the Americas meeting. So the other countries may be aware of the instruments and to find a link to their specific websites. Partners and participating agencies that will not present their instruments in this seminar and neither on the other on the 25th may always send their information. We will post it on the GRC website within a revised version of the document. If any participating agency would like to revise their contributions, add instruments after the present discussion, please feel free to do so. I would also like to mention that we will not post any information from any funding agency at the GRC website before having an explicit agreement from the agency. So I will also say that for the sake of brevity, I will not do any formal introductions. I will please ask our colleagues, speakers, to introduce themselves. So with this mentioned, I'd like to start with our first contribution. It's from Dr. Karen Lips from the National Science Foundation in the US. Karen, please, the floor is yours, or the screen in this case.
Thank you very much, Euclides, and thanks to all the organizers for creating this great opportunity for all of us to get together and share our funding instruments in the hopes that we can all strengthen our partnerships and our international collaborations. On behalf of NSF, I'm going to give a very short presentation. We've selected 5 of our funding instruments that are international in scope. Let's see if I can share my screen here. Are you able to see that? Is it the right format here?
It's not in presentation mode, but we can see it.
How is that? It just takes a little bit.
No, it's
Now
okay.
it's in presentation mode.
No, it's okay.
Great. Thank you so much. So let me give a quick introduction. I am from the Office of International Science and Engineering at the National Science Foundation. And our office covers all the disciplines, scientific disciplines, as well as all parts of the world. So we are very broad, very multidisciplinary, and we have sort of 2 modes of funding that we'll talk about today. The first 3 that I'll talk about are programs out of our office that are open to US PIs and their international collaborators on almost any topic, and working in any part of the world. In addition, there's a set of other funding mechanisms that we have that are more targeted to particular directorates, for example, biology or engineering or social sciences. Let me first describe then these 3 international programs that kind of show a variety of different approaches. The first we call our Partnerships for International Research and Education, or PIRE. This is our big research program. This deadline just closed, but the current model for this one is use-inspired basic research to address a societal challenge related to climate change or clean energy. So obviously climate change is a huge issue, and this program is dedicated to teams of international researchers working together to address any type of question related to climate change across any of the different disciplines or in any part of the world. Our second program is called ExcelNet. It is also open to partnerships around the world and all different disciplines. It's a little bit different from the first one I talked about in that this is really a very large, complex planning grant. It's a little bit less about the research than it is about providing money, either a small design project or a very large implementation project for up to 5 years and $2 million. That allows PIs from the US to identify partners from networks, research networks in other parts of the world, and they all get together and discuss how they might go about coordinating their research, coordinating their education and training to work together to, again, address a global grand challenge. It could be climate change, it could be a technological challenge, it could be emerging infectious diseases. It's open to all different types of problems as identified by the researchers. And our third sort of program coming out of the international office is one that's dedicated primarily for educational research by teams of students. So for example, a PI might have an idea to partner with their research colleagues in some other part of the world, and they could get a grant from this IRIS program, this International Research Experiences for Students, that would allow the US team to go abroad, bring those students or those postdocs or the graduate students and work internationally in some other country with their international colleagues to address some research question. We have 2 different levels here. One is mostly for undergraduates and the other one is more for graduate students. So this is, you can see then that NSF, we have sort of a variety of different mechanisms, whether it's primarily looking at student education, big research grants or these coordination grants to move forward into a research program. The last two examples I'm going to give are specialized agreements that the International Office has designed to work with our international partners. So they're much more tailored to particular questions or particular partnerships. The first one is our Transatlantic Platform, or TAP. And again, you'll see that this is designed to sort of allow for PIs to get together and again, address a large common challenge that's affecting all of us around the globe. And it's really a focus here is primarily on the social sciences and humanities research. So it's a little bit different, but again, it is supporting international research collaborations. And we're proud to say that Mexico and Brazil are some of our partners here, and Canada is one of our observers. So we start to see a little bit of variety here in some of our different mechanisms. Our final instrument then is what we call a Dear Colleague letter. And this one is addressing a very recent, emerging, and pressing issue related to quantum and artificial intelligence. And so in this case, we are offering supplements. So in this case, there may be an existing grant that a researcher has, and they apply for a supplement, some additional funding from NSF to add to their existing grant to allow them to add more of their international collaboration. And in this case, again, it's about working internationally with our partners around the world on research related to artificial intelligence and quantum science. So those are a quick example of 5 of our many funding instruments. We hope that this gives you an idea of some of these opportunities, and we look forward to hearing more from you. And thank you for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. This was very inspiring. And it was on time, which is also very good. Will give us some extra time for discussions later, which is fine. I would like then to move to our second presentation, which will be from the ANID, National Agency for Research and Development from Chile. And the second presentation will be given by our colleague, Sharapia Kakimova. So Sharapia, please, screen's yours.
Thank you, Euclides. Let me start. Oh, sorry. Okay, here we are. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sharapia Kakima. I work at the internationalization unit at the National Agency for Research and Development. I would like to talk a little bit, sorry, my presentation. I would like to give you first a little context of STI situation in our country, for those who are not familiar. Then I will talk about calls for international cooperation and bilateral multilateral cooperation and some of the strategic areas. I'm timing my time, so I hope to be on time as well. So just to give you an idea that we recently have created the Ministry of Science. And this is the institutional framework of the STI system in Chile. And apart from the creation of the Ministry of Science, we also have regional offices. So this is the new for Chile. So that's the objectives is to kind of to get our science everywhere and every corner of our country. So we have 5 regional offices that are now working in different regions of Chile. Then our agency also has been changed after the creation of the ministry. If before we had more than 20 programs, we now have only 5 sub-directions that are mainly restructured from and based on the existed projects, and we have see different areas, let's say basic research projects, which is mostly individual research centers, human capital, network strategy and knowledge, where internationalization belongs, and applied research. So just to give you an idea, we try to cover every aspect of career development of one researcher. As a need, we start at postgraduate studies, but the ministry has a program which is called Explore, and they actually work with kids and they provide scientific fairs, etc. So basically we can say that we can cover every kind of level of society within Chile related, trying to involve them within our area. So we have postgraduate studies, we have also instruments for insertion, we have instruments for development with financing several centers and research groups, and also we have instruments for application. And apart from it, we have some mechanism also for equipment purchase. For example, we have also oceanographic vessel hours, etc. Telescope observation hours that I think everyone knows that we are hub for astronomy here. So this is just to give you and several like kind of overview of what we are doing as an agency. About these are some data that general data. We have more than 70 application calls, not as many probably as NSF has, but still, and we are proud that our operational cost is quite low compared with other institutions, public institutions in Chile as well. So now I would like to talk to the topic of our seminar here. The internationalization unit has a purpose to strengthen the internationalization of Chilean science, technology, and innovation ecosystem in close collaboration, coordination, and articulation amidst its stakeholders. So we have different action lines, and I will talk about some of them actually here. So when we talk about instruments, as I said, we have 5 major subdirectorates, and each of the subdirectorate has calls where international cooperation is, if not implicit, it's explicit. For example, if we talk about research project subdirectorate, so we have a postdoctorate program where it's open for all researchers all around the world. But when we talk about regular funded project, for example, the cooperation, the call is open for Chilean researchers, but as Karen mentioned earlier, within the project they can apply for incorporate international cooperation as well. And we actually encourage it a lot. Now we'll talk about some of the instruments. One of the very popular here is the scholarships abroad. We have master scholarships abroad, PhD and postdocs. And it's for Chilean students or foreigners with permanent residency. But there are many students who go to study to US, for example, Canada, in our region, Brazil, maybe Mexico, but so we are open also for cooperation to see whether our students can go to different countries within the region. A national doctorate scholarship is a program that's dear to my heart. It's actually, I like it, personally, I like it more than study abroad, the PhD abroad, for example, because it's open for Chilean and foreigners all around the world. You can apply, and as you can see from these statistics, we have almost 25% of all scholarships that goes to the foreigners. So it is to study, to do PhD up to 4 years in the Chilean universities at the accredited programs. And we have many very good PhD programs. I know astronomy is one of them, and there are more of natural sciences, also engineering and humanities and social sciences as well. So students from your countries are welcome to attend or to apply for this scholarship. And also, apart from once you get the scholarship to study PhD in Chile, you also have possibility to compete for additional benefits to do internship abroad, which is up to 10 months, or to do co-tutel abroad, which is up to 24 months. So if you come, let's say, from Paraguay, students from Paraguay who got our scholarship, and he or she can do 2 years here and another 2 years do in any other country apart from Paraguay, let's say Europe or Asia or America. So this scholarship is also very good instruments to promote, I think, within your kind of possible students. Another examples of bilateral cooperations, I would like to mention call to promote international networks. It's somehow similar probably to research collaboration networks that NSF has, but we have, it is smaller in amount, so it has only 25,000 USD, and the funds can be provided for any Chilean group, research group, and they can be used for foreign researchers as well, for foreign research team. This is networking, that's why the funds are not so big, because as I told you previously, we have other instruments that can also incorporate international cooperation. But within these instruments, we have a possibility for bilateral cooperation or multilateral, as we have this year, for example, a call within this big call for Chilean researchers. We have a cooperation with Czech Academy of Science, where the Czech Academy of Science provides additional funds for the same project. So instead of having $25,000 for 1 year, they have 50,000 as a research team. The difference is that ANIT is funding Chilean researchers and Czech Academy of Science funds Czech researchers. So that's why the funding is bigger. So and we have developed some special procedures that doesn't have so much administrative costs because it is within the bigger call. So we have an annex for Czech Academy of Science with these specific conditions. And if some agencies are interested to be involved in this or to see possibilities to be a part of this call, we are happy to discuss this possibility with you. Then this is another example of bilateral cooperation. This is with Chinese Academy of Science already, but just to give an example that we have this possibility to have bilateral calls as well. For multilateral cooperation, I would like to talk about GRC call on sustainable development goals. This is a pilot's call within the umbrella of Global Research Council that is conducted jointly by 11 agencies. From Americas, ANIT is the only participant of this call. And we received, these are some relevant information that has to be international consortia, that the project is from 24 months for Chile, but it's with possible extension, and we have roughly 110,000 for 10 years or for 2 years projects. So the call was when we talked about this call, we were not sure about the outcomes because it's 11 agencies. With some of them, we haven't had any contacts, for example, agencies from Africa. But luckily, we had 192, if I'm not wrong, applications received for that call. And out of that, we have 45 who was with participation of Chilean researchers. So we are very happy with this call and hope that probably within Americas, we can analyze this call and see whether we can do something similar or in some topics relevant for the region. Before I finish, I would like also talk about some strategic area for us, for ANIT, for Chile. We are very much keen to develop our natural laboratories and our territories. So we know that Chile has is a long country, is unique, geographically unique country, as many of your countries are. But for us, it is important to find out these natural laboratories that can be of use for science, not only locally, but also globally. So like it is for the field of astronomy, we will have almost 70% of observation capacity of the world soon. And also because of these geographical conditions, so we would like to get advantage of our national territories, of our unique characteristics, geographical characteristics, and try to invite foreign investments, try to invite foreign researchers to do science here, to study science, because science is global, and I think we can find answers everywhere. Another area, strategic areas, open access policy. Just yesterday we had a seminar on this, international seminar. So we are keen also to promote this area. And last but not least is gender equity. We have a very, we work hard as a ministry, together with the ministry, to accomplish gender policy. And last week we had participated in the gender working group seminar, also presenting our national policy on gender equity. So with that, I finish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pia. Very good presentation. Also on time, I think we all think, because we really could have a good discussion at the end. So I'd like to come to our third presentation, which is from the National Council of Science and Technology, CONACYT, from Paraguay, and which will be presented by Maria Teresa Casals. Maria Teresa Casal, not Casals, Casal. And please, Maria Teresa, we look forward to your presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Euclides. And let me prepare my screen. Please let me know if you are watching all the screen.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Presentation mode.
Thank you. So I'm going to start saying hello to everyone, and it is a pleasure for me to be part of this workshop on behalf of CONACYT from Paraguay, and mainly to be able to share opportunities from CONACYT with agencies, students, and researchers of the Americas. Today, I will share with you 3 opportunities for international cooperation mechanisms that are currently open here in Paraguay. These instruments are part of the Paraguayan Program of Development of Science and Technology, the ProCiencia program, as you can see here. And this is a national fund for science and technology that was created in 2014. And the first instrument that I'm going to talk about is about the research grant funding. The purpose of this instrument is to finance short research activities in centers of excellence abroad, and to strengthen the trainings of researchers from local centers, making the instrument an important tool for updating and strengthening researchers, especially researchers' careers. The mode of cooperation is bilateral. Here, individuals are endorsed by their local institutions from Paraguay, and also individuals endorsed by their local institutions from other countries. And here, as you can see, the target audience is specifically researchers from Paraguay and from other countries. The funding is up to approximately $4,600. This is in Paraguayan Guarani, so I'm trying to calculate this in dollars at today's exchange rate. And the periodicity of this instrument is throughout the year, and now is currently open. The second instrument I'm going to share with you is funding for emerging science and technology events. This has purpose to promote the dissemination of scientific, technological, innovation knowledge through, as you can see, high impact or high important events here in Paraguay. It also seeks the networking between international experts and their Paraguayan peers. This event, the organizations of these events may be face-to-face, hybrid, or virtual modality. And the mode of cooperation, as you can see, is between institutions, Paraguayan universities, or research centers, and is targeted to researchers. The funding for this instrument is up to approximately $14,000, depending on the type of or the modality of the event. And now it's currently open. Applications are open throughout the year too. And here, the funding is available for travel and stays for international experts. And the third instrument is competitive funds for research and development projects. The purpose of this instrument is to grant financial support for the execution of research projects from different areas of science for the creation and strengthening of research lines, which are presented through period calls of proposals. In this type of competitive funds, there is available for all, as you can see, for all of the different areas of science. And the mode of cooperation is national with possible international cooperation, and is also could be bilateral within or with Paraguayan universities and research centers. And here, the target audience are universities and research centers. Before I pass this, I want to put an emphasis that all the three instruments that I just mentioned are for all areas of sciences, and also it's very important for us that the funding from these instruments must be executed by Paraguayan institutions. So you may want to know, how do you reach out to these Paraguayan institutions or researchers? So we have two platforms. The first platform is Open Data, where you can find this on our website. This database provides information on previous and current projects developed with national funding. It is possible to search by topic, area of science, project status, and you will also find there the names of the PIs or the main researchers, their teams, and you can contact them. And the second platform where you can find Paraguayan institutions and researchers, this is specifically to find Paraguayan researchers, and this is a standardized CV management network where you can find students, independent researchers, and researchers categorized in the National Incentive Program for Researchers in Paraguay called PRONI. And there you can also do your research through topics or specific research lines. And finally, with these tools offered by CONACYT, we encourage regional collaboration. And I think that's all for me. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and thank you to all the organizers. This is my contact, so you can contact me if you need any more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria Teresa. Much appreciated, and it's excellent, also on time. So we'd like to move to the fourth presentation, which is from Chris Albuquerque from the São Paulo Research Foundation, actually my institution. So please, without further ado, the screen is yours. Please.
Thank you, Euclides. Thank you all for being here. My name is Chris Albuquerque, and I head the area of research collaborations at São Paulo Research Foundation, FAPESP. I'm going to share my screen now. Just 1 second. I hope you can see the first screen in presentation mode. Yes, I assume that you can.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So let me first provide you a very brief introduction to FAPESP, because it is an important context for this conversation. FAPESP is a state-level funding agency. So Brazil is a federal republic. We have 26 states, and our research funding system is federated. Besides the federal level funding agencies, we also have state level funding agencies. And in fact, the São Paulo Research Foundation was the pioneer of this model, which proved to provide resilience to our funding, research funding system. So FAPESP is home to a significant part of Brazilian research. And of course, we interact with the other states, and our researchers are also funded by the federal agencies. I'd like to start my approach to this presentation is first to talk about why promote collaboration. Of course, this issue has been broadly discussed, and we are all here because we believe that collaboration is important. But I think that it is relevant to think from the point of view of the researcher. Why do researchers need to collaborate? And this is because we are funders. We do not actually perform research. We provide the researchers with opportunities, and they must take them up or not. So a few reasons for collaborating, first of all, is that research, the results of research are globally relevant. And collaboration is a way of reducing cultural, geographic, and community biases in your research. It allows you to do comparative studies and also to take a forest view rather than a very close tree view. In addition, collaboration is a way of building capacity in areas in which might have been pioneered by other countries than your own. It is, of course, a forum for exchanging of ideas, which is crucial to the scientific enterprise. It allows the scientific establishment to avoid becoming stagnated in a certain mode of approaching problems. It also removes resource limitation to problem solving. And by this, I mean that, of course, and this is certainly a problem in the Americas, resources, be they financial resources to pursue research, or organizational resources, or subject resources in terms of being able to include certain research subjects or objects in your research plan, can be bridged by collaborating with other partners abroad. And finally, and not least important, collaborating is a way to motivate researchers to keep doing their research enterprise. It's a way of energizing researchers, and this, I think, is also something that we must consider. From the point of view of the research funding agencies, considering these reasons for promoting collaboration is important when we design the funding instruments that we will offer to our researchers. And of course, we don't always keep all of them in mind, but we certainly struggle to make sure that these reasons are specifically attended to. Well, in FAPESP's view, the way, the how to promote collaboration, we take the view that collaboration must be stimulated to allow it to give birth to collaboration, and then nurtured all the way to large projects of collaboration, which are not necessarily the end game for every collaboration, but certainly an interesting proposition for really ambitious global level research projects. So I'm using here the expression seeding to denote those instruments that will start collaborations, such as fellowships that send researchers abroad, or visiting researcher fellowships. Piloting would be those instruments that allow researchers to start a collaboration, to pilot both the relationship as well as test the ideas that will be the basis of the collaboration. Then I'm calling exploring the level where a research project is launched, it explores either a branch of your main project or explore a possible joint endeavor that might end there or might give birth to further collaboration. And these can be done either with small grants or with supplementary funds for exploring complementarity. And I was very happy to see that many of our agencies share very similar instruments as the ones that I'm describing here. And finally, consolidating, this would be when two groups of researchers see the opportunity of doing a research that bridges borders in a major way, and it becomes one of their major points of work. So in relation to this, most of FAPESP's funding lines are available for international collaboration or can be adapted to it. And FAPESP divides its funding system in two modules. We fund research for knowledge generation as well as research for innovation. And all of those researchers are funded at different levels, from small exploratory grants all the way to larger grants, as well as scholarships that support the new researchers or offer new opportunities to experienced researchers. For the purpose of this presentation, we chose 5 of our funding instruments, which I have highlighted here. These are called the SPRINGs, the regular research grants, the thematic projects, the visiting research awards, and the small business innovation research awards. And I'm going to briefly talk about each of them. The sitting level, I would introduce to you the Visiting Research Award. The goal of this instrument is to kickstart collaborations by inviting researchers to local research institutions in the state of São Paulo, which is the scope of FAPESP's funding. The target audience for this is experienced researchers, and the idea is that by coming here and performing their research here, this will initiate the collaboration. The researchers will get to know each other and will be able to share their experience locally. The duration of these scholarships is up to a year. It's with repeated visits possible. The direction of cooperation is typically bilateral between research institutions. It's usually demand-driven, although we have with the Royal Academy, with the Royal Society, for instance, use calls for proposals to promote these instruments. And our experience with it is that it has been a very widely employed method for starting collaborations. And it's also one of our earliest collaboration instruments. In the piloting level, a typical and perhaps our major program is SPRINT. It's the acronym means São Paulo Researchers and International Collaborations. The goal of that instrument is to foster novel collaborations based on existing research through the interchange of research teams. But it has also been widely used to support ongoing collaborations. To provide funding in between funding of larger projects, and then continuity of long-standing collaboration. The duration of that is up to 2 years. Repeated visits are expected. Visits are expected to be two-way, so to São Paulo and from São Paulo to the partner country, and they encompass the whole research team. The whole research team might be, it's up to the PIs to define who goes where. The target audience for this is researchers with ongoing projects. They're not supposed to be grants that are freestanding, but they support bridging projects that have some commonality between researchers. They are promoted by periodic calls for proposals. We have 3 calls a year, which is convenient because it allows a number of different partner organizations to participate according to their schedules. This funding line has been a very good experience. It has generated a lot of interest among partner institutions. We partner not only with funding agencies, but also directly with research institutions to help promote collaboration opportunities. And it has also been known to support by itself significant joint research production. In the middle, for the exploring phase, we have the regular research grants. Those are designed to fund design level joint projects with very well-designed scope and led by single PIs on our side. Our partners sometimes allow multiple PIs to partner. The budget for this is capped at 300,000 reais. These are 150,000 reais. That's per year. This is roughly between $50,000 to $60,000 total, or $30,000 per year, if they are longer, because in some arrangements we have established durations of up to 4 years. Visits between the groups are common and expected, but they're not required. It depends on the plan that the researchers design together. The target audience for this is independent researchers, both those still starting their career as well as established researchers. The direction of cooperation may be either bilateral or multilateral, depending on the arrangement, and they are often promoted by calls for proposals, but we also have on-demand arrangements with some agencies. This is the workhorse mechanism for collaboration. Perhaps they're not as many as the sprint, but they are perhaps the main collaboration mechanism that FAPESP has funded so far. And then also at the exploratory level, but focused on innovation, we have launched a number of calls for small business innovation research grants that are supposed to support small and medium enterprises that intend to add their competencies to develop new product systems, processes, or services together. These have a duration of 2 to 3 years. The target audience, as I said, is small and medium businesses. And again, the direction of cooperation may be either bilateral or multilateral. We have just launched a call with the Eureka network that allows for both of these arrangements. They're usually promoted by calls for proposals. And what we found is that the critical component for making these calls successful is to have matchmaking events among the to help the SMEs find each other's. Finally, at the consolidating level, we have thematic grants. Those are meant to support mature collaborations or to support very large projects that are mature in nature. They are meant also to be either the principal or the co-principal project of the research groups. They allow for a PI and co-PIs to participate. The target audience are researchers with an established track record. Their duration is preferably from 4 to 6 years, although we have funded 3-year thematic grants. They are usually bilateral, and our promotion is often on demand, but we have long-standing agreements also for they're usually calls for proposals, but we also have long-standing agreements for on-demand thematic grants. Our experience is that we have awarded a significant number of those over the years, and we have recently changed our rules to allow a holder of thematic grant in São Paulo to apply for a second thematic grant if it is international collaboration. And this is a way of promoting collaboration, as we understand that there is a greater cost to submit a collaborative project and in terms of designing it, and we want to make sure that collaborations happen. So these are the grants that FAPESP offers, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Chris, for your presentation, detailed presentation. And we're still very good on time. So we can move to the fifth and the last presentation for this afternoon. It comes from the National Council of Science and Technology, CONACYT from Mexico. And I understand it will be presented by Alfonso Araiza. If I pardon if I didn't pronounce your name correctly, and you can correct me anytime, please. And I also understand that the second name, not the last one, is the one that you prioritize in the Spanish-speaking countries. So I think you should be addressed as Alfonso Araiza, if I'm wrong, right?
Right, that is right.
Okay, so Alfonso, please, the screen is yours. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much. I would like to share my screen, just a minute. Please let me know if you can see my presentation.
Yes.
Yes, it's in presentation mode, yes.
Great. Well, first of all, I would like to start by expressing my gratitude to the Global Research Council for the opportunity to be in this presentation, as well as the organizational committee. My name is Alfonso Araiza, and I'm representing the National Council for Science and Technology, CONACYT of Mexico. I am the Deputy Director of Multilateral Cooperation in the International Cooperation Area. And in the following minutes, I would like to present you two financing programs that the CONACYT is actually promoting. These are not the only programs that we actually have, but this is something that we would like to address in this meeting. I would like to specifically talk about two programs, the program of scholarships abroad and the medical specialty programs. Before starts, I would like to briefly describe the change that we have come about in the council inside the CONACYT. CONACYT has suffered several changes, and one of the main objectives of the new CONACYT it's no longer only a financial agency. It's still part of our task, but within our work, it's also the task of designing and articulating the national policy in humanities, science, technology, and innovation of Mexico. In this regard, Mexico is committed to promote a public policy of humanities, science, and technology, whose primary objective is to generate benefit for society. That is very important for us. That is actually our main goal. I would like to, I'm sorry, I started before. Right here. I would like to talk about the pillars of action that we have in CONACYT. And one of the main pillars is the strengthening of the scientific community, as well as the strengthening of the public postgraduate courses. In the first pillar of strengthening of the scientific community, in the previous year, we granted around 80,000 grants for students. And we also have 35,000 national research members of our national research system, which are scientists that help us to evaluate different projects and their pertinence in this matter. As part of the strengthening of the public postgraduate courses, we established two main lines in the public and private sector directed to research and professionalizing matters. For the first one, we in the public and the research level, we have universal access to students, all areas of humanities, science, and technology. And in the second one, in the private, we have agreements with private university, and we work together to pass grade, and we also consider all the areas of humanities, science, and technology. In the second level, in the professionalization level, we have not only master and PhD, but also specialization in very specific areas, which implies the immersive training in the public sector in strategic areas with the social commitment to return something to society. In the number 4, we collaborate with private university, and we also train in immersive training in strategic areas. I would like to talk about the national strategic programs, which are our main compass of CONACYT in the main topics that we are actually trying to attend. As you can see, well, health, it's a very big matter in recent years, as well as water and human security, socio-ecological system. These are just a couple of things that we would like to express that we are working on. And we can rely in international cooperation. We are looking for these things to be attended also. So this is like our main compass, our main direction of action in which we are trying to achieve. We are trying to attend. These, as you can see, are also very aligned with the ODS of the United Nations. And in the matter of health, I would like to talk about a little bit later of a specific program called the medical specialty programs that we are trying to promote, that we are trying to establish as a priority for us. Well, as you can see, our national strategic programs are very specific problems that attend not only Mexico, but we believe very much to the scientific, to the international community. As you can see, it's also culture, it's also energy and climate change, toxic agent and polluting processes, food sovereignty, and human safety, human security. Well, now to talk about our scholarship programs. We have 4 main areas in this matter, in the part of scholarships. We have our national scholarships, aimed mainly to all of the areas and to local students. In this part, I would like to talk about more scholarships abroad, the opportunity for our students to study in universities in the international scene. Inclusion scholarships would include people with certain disability or minorities. And finally, the consolidation scholarships, which are aimed to not only PhD, but postdoctorate studies. Well, now to talk about the scholarships abroad. The objective of these scholarships is to promote the participation of Mexican professionals who are going to initiate or are already studying a postgraduate studies face-to-face. This is very important. We need to be, the studies need to be face-to-face, not virtual. This is something that we do not support, but face-to-face and full-time programs abroad. The idea is that these students can apply for scholarships in program focused on the priority areas of the call for proposals. The priority areas usually are aligned with the PRONACEs that I showed before, with the 10 strategic areas, usually. This can be, there can be exceptions, of course, but the students need to apply for these scholarships and the areas of the call for the proposals. And well, the idea is also that these are students that are committed to return to the country after completing their study programs in order to contribute to the development and welfare of Mexico. We are looking for students to return after they finish their studies in the international scene. Our priority areas, as you can see, are quite aligned with the previous one I mentioned, which are health, culture and arts, science and humanity. These priority areas were the ones that during this year were promoted. During the next year, every year we open calls, but these priority areas may vary from year to year. This is something that might be of interest. And each call for proposal establishes the priority areas for the study programs, the terms, and the condition of participation. The priority areas of the calls may vary year from year, as I was saying. Something that is very important is that, and we get this question a lot, is that we no longer support a short stay in research. This is something that changed before, that changed because of the new alignments that we are promoting. The conditions is that the study needs to be face-to-face and a complete full-time programs abroad. We no longer support short stay in research. The changes in this matter are due to an administrative change regarding the extension of certain financial instruments that we used to have, but nowadays we have to adopt to an annual fiscal budget, and in that matter, the scholarships are kind of restricted to a certain amount of budget. So I believe this is something this is important to be pointed. And well, which are the benefits of these scholarships? We give a monthly economic support of 1,000 USD. It can vary depending the destination of the country. As you can see, it can be euros or pounds, depending on the destination. But this is like an example of what we give during this year. An annual economic support for health insurance, depending on the destination country also, and the calls for proposals. We also help with the tuition fee. Also depends on the calls for proposals. And well, the benefits resulting from the collaboration agreements with higher education institutions. I would like to say that any students from Mexico can apply, or maybe it's already enlisted in a program abroad. So this student can apply for a scholarship in CONACYT, even if we don't have an agreement with that specific university. Well, the advantages of having an agreement with a specific university is that we have this opportunity to maybe achieve some benefits from both sides, but it's an open opportunity for everyone, and that's one of the main ideas. The duration of the scholarships, well, for master's degree, it's up to 24 months. For PhD, it's up to 60 months. And for PhD, if they already have or received the support for a master's degree, it's up to 48 months. In this matter and of the medical specialties, I would like to talk about this one a little bit longer, but it will depend on the program of studies. Our general requirements for this is that you have to be accepted to study abroad face-to-face for a period equal or longer than 6 months. We no longer support, as I mentioned, short stays. Create or update the registration in the CONACYT portal, complete the application with the CONACYT portal with all the academic and administrative documentation, and not have received any equivalent or similar scholarship support from CONACYT or with federal fiscal resources in this matter. Well, and more specific requirements will be the letter of acceptance from the university abroad, the evidence of official enrollment, curricular structure of the study program, document issued by the university indicating the cost of the tuition, and several academic documentation in order to complete the file. Administrative documentation, valid official identification, letter of declination, or letter of non-debt in case of having previously received a CONACYT scholarship. The application process is quite simple. We publicate the call for proposals. We are open to receive the application. We have a closing date, and we have this inconsistency period which works as a period as a grace period to grant the opportunity to students to maybe correct the file if a specific document is missing or something it's not quite well with their documentation. The evaluation process, publication of results, and the formalization. Formalization is the part where we sign a specific contract with agreement with the student that has been selected and continue with the administration of resources. For all the calls, we are looking to open calls during the first trimester of the next year. If it's okay with you, I may share the information about the website and where you can consult this part. And the system will close on the last day of the inconsistency period. This is for all the calls. In our next matter, I would like to talk about the CONACYT scholarship for medical specialties abroad. This is a very this program is quite important because this program is an initiative of our government, where we look for Mexican doctors who have accredited their knowledge in medicine to be accepted in a program of medical specialties abroad. The duration of each specialty will vary depending on the discipline of study. Our target population is a Mexican health professional who have been selected in the national examination of medical residence applicants in ARM. It's a national exam, which validates the knowledge of the people in the medical field. And these people wish to perform a full-time medical specialty in the international quality institution abroad. And also we have a target population, which are health professionals of Mexican nationality who are already enrolled in medical specialty programs abroad. So we have these two lines where Mexican health professionals who wants to start and the ones that are already enrolled in a medical specialty program. The national examination of medical residence applicant, which is the Mexican exam, is an instrument that evaluates the level of knowledge about medicine in the sustainer and aims to select Mexican and foreign general doctors who encourage to perform a residency in a university course of medical specialization. The medical specialty programs and support are covered by the CONACYT scholarship, and we seek to have a participation of 60% in front of patient and 40% theoretical study in general. The disciplines were established in coordination with the Mexican Ministry of Health, and as well as the number of years. As you can see, these are the medical specialties that we are looking for actually: pathological anatomy, general surgery, medical genetics, geriatrics, clinical, psychiatry, traumatology, and orthopedics. And each one of them established the number of years which we can support. Which are the items covered and the amounts to be awarded in this program? We are looking for a monthly financial support for 1,100 USD, or different currencies depending on the destination. Monthly financial support for this amount, and annual tuition payment up to around 15,000 USDs or 300,000 Mexican pesos, more or less, depending on the currency rate. An annual health insurance, which is a payment up to 1,700 USD. These are the items that we covered and that we are looking for this medical specialties for our students to start a medical specialty, or for those who are already enlisted in a medical specialty. Requirements for the establishment of partnership agreements. We have faced several difficulties in this initiative because of several issues that I would like to mention. One of them is the revalidation of the studies, the acceptance of the NARM exam of the Mexican exam as a sufficient proof of knowledge in the medical field. In some cases, the knowledge of the language, and very different legislation in matters of health. So in order to promote this initiative, we usually request for those who are interested in collaborate with CONACYT in this matter, the content and curriculum structure of the medical specialty programs, the duration, because the duration may vary from country to country, admission requirements. For example, maybe you require a malpractice insurance, academic follow-up of the mechanism for fellowships, the starting dates also to establish the same dates, the required language level, the fees, and the quotas of this matter. One of the programs, as I mentioned, is the information on equivalency and recognition of exams and degrees, the recognition of the national examination for residency application for admission to programs abroad, the revalidation of the studies abroad, allowing Mexican doctors to practice in Mexico at the end of the medical residency programs. For Mexico, the component of the program must be 70% practical and 30% theoretical. It might vary, it can be 60 and 40%, but within those ranks. Also, of course, information on immigration processes, requirement and cost, and to ensure that there are no discriminatory clauses or policies that limit the visa or entries of fellows on the basis of physical or health conditions. And well, those were the two main programs that I would like to mention in this presentation. And well, thank you everyone for this opportunity.
Alfonso, thank you very much for your detailed presentation. So with this presentation, we finish our session on the programs, and we have foreseen something like 30 minutes to a Q&A session, discussion, comments, questions, and we are really good on time. So I think before I just open the floor for the participants to ask each other, you may turn your cameras on if the system supports, it should. So I think we have seen a large variety of instruments, thematic ones, applied to general topics. We have programs that address graduate, initial researchers, mature researchers. So the number of mechanisms is relatively large. And I'm also sure that these short presentations may leave a lot of open questions. We can try to discuss some of them today, but as we mentioned, we'll be doing an effort, if I may ask the colleagues, presenters, if they were willing to be sharing their slides in the PDF form with us later, and we can also put this available on the website. And if we, as I just mentioned in the introduction, I'd like to mention again, we will be preparing a document on the mechanisms that have been presented today. Agencies may, after the discussions here, improve their mechanism or their presentations. They may call the other ones that have not presented so far, may add some of their instruments. And we may even update the instruments as new information come in the GRC website. Of course, this is only if the agencies give their full agreement on the material that will be posted. So now I would like to open the floor to all the participants, this internal group here, for questions, comments, and so if anyone is willing to start. It's always hard at the beginning, the first steps are hard, but we must go on. I have a question for the NSF, just so that I understand. Can be Karen, can be Wenda. You usually, how connected are you to the graduate programs? How connected is the NSF to graduate programs? I mean this because in Brazil, funding for research in the graduate level is very connected to the universities. There are a lot of fellowships, and even when the agencies like FAPESP fund graduate programs, the form of the funding is through a fellowship, and this is closely connected to the graduate programs. I don't know if you have this sort of experience of you just give a grant to the PI and he pays, and it's not necessarily connected to a graduate program. How does that work? It would be interesting to understand.
Thank you, Euclides, for the question. And NSF, one of the things I love about NSF is we love to fund undergrads, grad students, and postdocs. And there's different mechanisms to do that. And specifically for grad students, the most common way they're funded is that a PI writes a grant and puts money in for grad students. And whether it's a full-time, part-time, any level of it, and that's probably the most common way that we see it. However, there are a number of other different programs. Like there's one in the Directorate for Education called NRT, NSF's Research Trainingship, which is a 4 or 5 year, I forget, grant where it's designed to train a cohort of grad students in an interdisciplinary area. And so they then kind of get fellowships inside this NRT grant in a particular area of maybe cognitive science and nanotechnology that they're doing a program together. So there's that mechanism. And Karen can speak more about some other opportunities as well.
I was just going to mention the Graduate Research Fellowship Program, the GRFP, and that's one where each grad student, they have a period of about 2 years to apply for it, and they get their own money. And so they apply, and if they are selected, they are able to take their money to the graduate school of their choice if they can be accepted. And so this gives them sort of the agency and the authority and the power to sort of direct their own research program and decide, you know, what graduate program is good for them. So there are other programs for graduate funding, both that individual one as well as the one and others that Wenda mentioned about sort of a department would build a program and sort of apply for a grant that would support a number of graduate fellowships that would then help create like a nucleus, a research center of some sort there. Yeah.
Oh, that's excellent. Very interesting. Thank you, Karen, Wenda.
I have a question.
There is a question for me in the chat.
Oh, go on. I was also going to make a question to you. I'll ask you a question, Sharapia, but I'll give the chat.
No, just to respond to Alejandra Ricalde, who is asking how does it work with the natural resources that I use during research? For example, from the desert or the Antarctic, are there special permission that are needed? Or when you work with Chilean group, that's already covered. Look, the projects of where you require the sampling of some natural resources, they are usually bigger projects that I told they should be applied through the Chilean research team. And when they apply, there is actually ethical committee that they have to submit some documents that they are in line with the rules of ethics, etc., etc. And there is some special permission that they have to get. I'm not sure about Antarctic desert, but I know that the samples for Antarctic, for example, if you work with them within Chile, there is no, I think it's not as difficult as it could be. But if you would like to take samples away, then you have to get some special permission for the exporting of the samples. And this is a special permission that is, once you do it, our researchers have to know what agencies you have to go. We can, as a research funding agency, we can support this process, but we don't give that permission. So that's, I don't know whether I reply your questions, but if you need to have more details, I can search for exact answers, but always when you work with Chilean researchers, I'm sure that he or she will know how to get this permission, but we will support you. We had an example with Antarctic research when we had to import some samples, so we had to send letter to our I forgot the name, aduana, I could say it, aduana.
Customs.
Yes, customs office. So both languages are not my native, so I can confuse. So the customs office, we had to support letter. We give them supporting documentations, and that letter actually doesn't give them permission, but it's kind of provides verification documentation for the customs officer that these samples will be exported, going out of the country within this project, etc. So that's, I hope I answered your questions. If not, you can write to me. I will leave my email later.
Chris?
Yes, well, sorry to ask another question to Sharapia, but I was interested in your idea phase 1 and 2 grants that you mentioned. Are they innovation research grants? And what's your experience in how does it work exactly to do them in international collaboration?
Look, idea 1 and 2, yes, exactly. It's one of the pilot call for innovation, because actually that used to be the only innovation project which was more close to applied research. So idea one is usually research project where they develop kind of some idea to be able to create. I'm not sure whether they come to the develop prototype, but almost come to develop prototype. And then idea two is a second part when they actually develop prototype and try to check it out, etc. And international cooperation is actually they can invite some experts to work with to be a member of a team. They can also fund some. It's not explicit international cooperation with the idea 1 and 2, but it's implicit. And actually, they also invite evaluators from foreign countries also for to evaluate this some of the projects. So it's and as I said, they can invite some foreign experts to be a part of the team and to cover his.
And what's the target audience for this grant?
Look, it's open mostly for researchers who do innovation. It's not open for private sector. It's open to research centers. It's open to universities. And I am not sure if it's open to startups or something like that. But innovative enterprises, yes, probably. And we have also now several instruments that came to our agency from Corfo. Corfo is a corporation of development within the Ministry of Economy, and most of their instruments used to be related with innovation. So many of those instruments came to ANID. So that's we have now more, because now in our name we have research and development. So we have more instruments actually related to development parts, and so that's it's none of our instruments is for private sector. We have some instruments for private sector when they have to cover, for example, insertion of researchers to private sector. We incentivate. So in this case, they have to cover some part of it, depending on the company. But usually our instruments are mostly for research centers, for research innovation centers, also for universities, some group of researchers, etc.
Okay, I don't see any raised hands. I'm sure the presentations were all very clear, but I also should.
There's a question in the chat, Euclides.
A question in the chat is the one that I think Sharapia has already addressed.
No, the one that is there a specific research area that in general, this is directed to all of us, that in general applies less. So a specific research community, I think, or group in a certain area that in general applies less for international programs. And if that is so, if your agency gives special attention or incentive for that area to submit to seek collaboration. I'm not gonna ask the question and answer it myself. That's no fun.
So, but you're on a funding agency. You're managing the portfolio of funding agencies. So actually, you should be able to address the question. It's okay.
Yes, but you know.
Okay, I think we have a question from Carolina.
I can
understand this.
I can reply to this question, but not less international cooperation. I think we give special incentive to some priorities that we have. For example, we give priorities. For example, we have instruments where we encourage regional development, so we give some incentive for that, but not for program with less international component. So I don't think we have that, but for priorities that we have at our agencies, for example, yes, we can give some incentives in this case.
I think we do the same. There's certain countries that have particular resources or instrumentation or access to particular resources that make them sort of a key partner on certain types of research. And so sometimes there are targeted funding for those types of questions or access to those resources, but I don't think we do the reverse.
Okay, I think that the question might have come from my own agency. I think it's from Carolina, but I think that what she's referring to is that we monitor who participates in international collaboration, and we notice a difference by area. So hard sciences tend to collaborate more, especially physicists and engineers. Social sciences tend to collaborate less. This is partly due to the subject of that they study that is either more local or broad, but also to some culture. And since we are keen to support collaboration, we do sometimes try and address whether there is what we are offering is too suited to one particular type of research and less suited to another, and make sure that we are covering all areas. I'm not sure if I think that the question is, do any of you observe that? So perhaps in a more broad way, do you find that your instruments are better suited to some areas than others? And how do you address that? Well, perhaps in the case of NSF, how have you addressed that? I assume that this is all the history to go.
If I can, I'll take a stab at it. One of the things that and this is actually probably my more personal philosophy of being a program officer, is to think about, part of my job is helping to identify those gaps. Where is it that we need to put attention, and whether it's in the physical, the natural, or the social sciences. And one of the things that I have seen my colleagues do at NSF, regardless of which discipline they're in, is that we're always looking for those gaps. And one common way that we do address it, or just to test the waters to see, are there researchers out there who are willing to step up and start to fill those gaps, or are we really on target thinking this is a gap, is through the Dear Colleague letter. And I know that Karen talked about one of those, where Canada and the US said we would like to see more research on quantum and the AI and people collaborating with together. And so NSF will put out Dear Colleague letters. And I mean, they're not the best reading in the world, but I do find it helpful occasionally that I skim through them to see, okay, where are the areas that my colleagues are thinking and seeing within their fields of study where we need more attention. And then those often get developed into full-scale solicitations or core programs. And so I see them as kind of this testing bed. The other place that NSF does to try to help both identify and catalyze the research community is by sponsoring small conferences, workshops, really the idea of bringing a small group of researchers together, whether they're interdisciplinary or whether they're all in the same field, but bring them together for 2 days, put them all in a room together, or put them all on, virtual platform together to give them the chance to talk to each other. And at NSF, you can search the awards that we give, and you can search and just put in conference in the search awards database to see what are the sorts of conferences, where are some of these areas that have been identified as needing more research. And so those are two mechanisms where I think I see, but also program officers just like to get out and talk to the community and hear from researchers. And, even a researcher sending an email to a program officer and saying, I don't see much on this, why not? So, I mean, I see this is our job. So thank you, both Caroline and Cristivo, for the question.
Thank you, Wanda. Actually, just a follow-up question. Sorry, Sharpia. Quick one. When you mentioned that you organize workshops and conferences. When you say you organize, do you mean program officers organize them, or you put out a call for a conference or workshop?
Yeah, I apologize if I misspoke. It should be that we fund conferences or small conferences for this direct purpose. And typically, it's a PI will think of an idea, pitch it to a program officer. We do have the ability, sometimes it can be the PIs that, come to a program officer, or that we could put out a call and say, we'd like to see something on quantum and AI, and ask the community. And so it's a smaller mechanism, which, it can go both ways, where we either put out a call, we let the community know we're interested, or that people in the community come to us. And once the community, and I've seen particular pockets, they start to figure this out, and then we start to see more PIs or, professional society coming to NSF and saying, we'd really like to do this. So thank you for letting me clarify that.
Thank you again.
Shapia?
I just wanted to say that more than the area, for example, we have a lot of studies on the gap about gender issue. So, for example, in that case, we can have positive discrimination. I'm sure Alfonso was talking about some disabled person, as I understood it as a positive discrimination. So in our case also, we have some positive discrimination for example, when we know the areas with gender balancing. For example, we had some call when we thought, okay, this is the area where the mostly men, but we also have women. So we need if PI is man, so co-PI should be female or something like that. So not much in areas, but in areas, again, this priority that we have. For example, we are very much into spread science into our regions, because the gaps are not necessarily by area, but by territory. Most of our researches and publications are made in the metropolitan region. So, and when you go further from the Santiago, there are less, the community is less, the infrastructure, research infrastructure is less, etc. So that's why the idea was to create these regional offices. And also we have several instruments now to support articulation and promotion of science and technology within the region, and also to understand to make people understand how it is important, why it is important, why your region is so specific for science, etc. So more than kind of specific areas, we are trying to address gaps in distribution of science or distribution of knowledge within our territory, and also gender gaps as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Shapia.
I don't see, at least here, any raised hands. I have a question to all agencies. From what I heard today, all agencies fund top-down and bottom-up initiatives. All have programs targeted to specific topics, which is something I know the German DFD just does not usually have. They are all mainly bottom-up. How do you balance your bottom-up calls to your top-down? Which is the one that's very predominant? No, I think if I pass, most of our programs are bottom-up. We put top-down, but most are bottom-up. And if we do top-down, did you ever consider or have programs on regional issues? Because we're talking about the idea of the regional issues. We in Brazil and other states around the Amazon, we have a regional issue there, which is the Amazon topic in general. But I think from what we have heard in the last years, there's global challenges worldwide. Climate is one of them. There are many others, food security, whatever. But sometimes the solutions are local or regional, have a local or regional color. I don't know if you do. So two parts. First, then how do you balance the top-down, bottom-up on the agencies? And the second, if you have, targeted program for regional solutions, or will be willing to discuss this sort of mechanism. Thank you. All agencies, please.
If
We
I
can
may,
start with the alphabetic order, or Karner is already there, so.
well, if I may start with something that might help. From this side in CONACYT, in my presentation, there was a slide about the 10 priority areas that we are trying to address. In order to build these areas, we establish commitments, and where not only scientists participate, but also part of the society. It was a very specific process to establish, to acknowledge which are the main issues, the main problems that we are trying to attend. And in that part, it was a very long process, but it might help to not only focus on something in a very specific area, for example, artificial intelligence, but to try to abroad every single step, and which are the main topics that we are trying to attend, as well as to align them to the international problems that every country is trying to face. I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear, but this was a process that we tried to establish, and this is how we get to our PRONASES, for example, in the case of Mexico.
Thank you. Shall we go in alphabetic order, or the same order of we were do otherwise? We started with we ended with Mexico. We could, Chris, would you like to step up next? Then we go to Paraguay, Chile, and we end up with this, just to have a quick overview of this approach.
Sure. I think that as you said, at FAPESP, our default is to work bottom up, and there's a simple reason for that, which is you can't really solve a problem if there isn't a problem solver. So you need to have scientists step up with the ideas, and in that sense, even if you propose a challenge, if you launch a call for proposals, the solutions will be the creation of the scientists. One thing where I think there is an opportunity, in some cases, if you want to be very mission-driven, to be more deliberate, is in choosing perhaps a partner for a specific topic. So let's say that you have a specific national problem or state problem or regional problem that you want to deal with, or a global problem, but that you have decided it's your mission to deal with. Then it makes sense to prioritize, when you think of a collaboration strategy, those regions that are already addressing that, or that have significant capacity to add to that. At FAPESP, due to our size, what we do, it is also a practical matter. We tend to let the scientists do this. What we try to do is as Wenda said, we're being more into promoting or launching calls for proposals of conferences, but then it's up to the scientists to get together and decide who is really the best partner, or what the strategy they have to deal with this. Finally, there's one third approach that we have used and are planning to increase, which is what we call our thematic programs. So those are, again, they are usually community initiated, but the community proposes to FAPESP to form a thematic program that will be housed within FAPESP. We'll have a certain budget to, over a long time, to develop a strategy to develop that area, to sponsor conferences, to release calls for proposals. These are people who are intending to address a certain area that they convince FAPESP is strategic. An example of that is a program on biodiversity, which is, I think, the first of those, and is already 20 years old, and another program that we have on climate change, for instance. And there's, I guess, 3 other programs currently standing.
Thank you, Cristóbal. Maria Teresa, would you be willing to say
Yes,
how you
I would
approach
like
this?
to. I would like to share our experience because we have a very, well, we are very new in this. We had effective funding since 2014, so we are starting this path of public funding for science, technology, and innovation. And we started actually bottom up. This past 6 years were very experimental for us because, as you may know, our scientific community is very small, and we needed to create more opportunities for this community to grow not only in areas that we knew we had bigger communities, but we needed to open this to new lines of research. And now we are in this transition where we have to decide how are we going to balance this bottom-up and top-down decision, where our community is much more, our scientific community is much more stronger. Also, public and private sectors want to participate. Now they are more aware of of what national funding for science, technology, innovation does for our country and for our development. So we're in that transition. And actually, my question is, how do we go through that path, considering that we have very small budget, and also we have still a small scientific community. And I took notes from Wenda, so this is a very interesting experiences from the NSF. So maybe we are willing also to try these meetings, or probably finding these PIs that are willing to present some alternatives or some themes that may be prioritized. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria Teresa. Sharpia, if we follow the opposite order from the presentations, I think you're in.
Okay. Look, our calls, most of our calls are bottom up, so it's for all areas of knowledge. So it depends on the researchers who apply for what area, etc. But we have some not bottom up, up down approach as well. For example, we have scholarships that are in priority areas. Our scholarships, since we started to give scholarships, it was always open to all areas without any restrictions. Then we thought that we need more, for example, experts in digital technologies. And digital technologies related to, for example, to natural disaster or something like that. So we opened a call for scholarships in that specific areas. We have we had 3 big areas, and these 3 areas was kind of decided down on what specific areas it would be. And that was decided, of course, in the scientific community. It was a big discussion before the areas were decided. Apart from that, we also have regional centers that when you are talking about regional, we have regional centers that actually have to address regional focus or regional problem, that these centers are funded half and half. Half funding comes from a need and half funding comes from region. So they have to be aligned with the public policy of the region. They have to be connected to the regions. So, and now, especially now, because our priority is regional territory, etc. So these centers are getting stronger, I would say. Apart from that, we have other types of centers that have a lot of funding. The regional centers more or less they are for up to 10 years, and they have maybe $500,000 a year. for up to 10 years. So it's a big group of researchers that work in different in these specific areas, but they can also apply to other instruments. They can be researchers who apply for others to make it stronger, because we understand we cannot give just for that center and that's it. But also we have another centers like Fondab, for example, Basales. The names don't give much sense to you, but these centers are up to $1 million a year, and also there's after 5 or 10 years there is a kind of shift. They have to justify extension for 5 years more, and they are also in priority areas, and they are priority areas based on the priority of the government. So, for example, recently we have a center that was that got funding, center in cancer. So we have this center. Then we have another centers. We also have centers, international centers, that are for foreign universities or foreign group of researchers to apply, and they're also related to some specific area that are predefined. So that's there are a huge amount of money, of course, and we wanted, that's why they are related to the priority that the country needs. But the usual calls are mostly, they are bottom up, apart from the center scholarship, and also networks calls that we have for territories, for natural laboratories. I said we have some networks call, because we wanted to promote development of science in the region, and we also want to kind of underline our geographical singularities, and we would like researchers to help us to do so. So that's those calls also were, let's say, up-down approach, because they were decided by government. So we have both, we have combination of. Thank you.
Thank you, Shapia. So, Karen, Wenda, if you'd like to say a few words.
Sure, I'll start off and let Wenda finish up. I can think of like a variety of different answers to this question about whether NSF sort of has any regional interest. In general, almost everything is driven from the PIs bottom up. But for example, we have some programs in some of our different directorates, such as polar programs, which is dedicated to research in the poles. We have the oceans program, which is dedicated to research in the oceans. I don't know that we have anything on any particular region per se. It's more related to the research, but Wenda may have something to add there. What we have for the US, we do have certain sort of incentives to sort of increase representation within the United States called the EPSCoR project. And so it gets at one of our earlier questions about, what do we do to try and facilitate groups or areas that are not getting as much attention. And so our EPSCoR program is designed, it's sort of a special set of money that we can use across most of our programs, so that when we get a really good project from a state, one of our states that is kind of lower down in terms of the number of academic institutions that are there, what we can do is we can tap into this additional set of money to sort of facilitate increased funding to that particular region. But it's not exactly, I don't think, the spirit of the question. So I'll turn it over to Wenda.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen, and thank my colleagues, because the one comment I'll add to our conversation, and I think that none of us have addressed, is that we all do have top-down pressures that we're negotiating, that i.e., particularly in the United States, our president changes every 4 years. Our current president has a value for climate change, clean energy, and hence our director of the foundation does, and we're getting that pressure. And I think it's I want to highlight that this is also, I think, the other pressure that we're all negotiating is, the political priorities do change, and our goal is keeping that good ship of scientific research on a steady path. And I know there are times when it's easier than others for us. And so I just wanted to add that to the conversation, but thank you.
Thank you very much, you all. I think we're coming to the end of this meeting, unless somebody has a very urgent question, but we will still have in 14 days another meeting. So if you come up with good questions, you just join us, as I am expecting you to do. And we have another 8 other agencies presenting in probably new issues, new programs, which I think is very challenging. I will not say too much to close this meeting, because it's not the full closure. The full closure will be done on the next week. But there's something that I like to recall when we did the GRC regional meeting in the Americas last time, and the topic proposed by the US on research ethics. And one of the discussions there was that part of it would be to get to know each other, to build trust, and to develop reviews on procedures on common grounds. I think this sort of meetings here will contribute a lot for us to know each other and build trust, so that we can help each other on doing research on a common ground and on shared values. So I think this is actually what I wanted to say before closing, and thanking you all for being here, and invite you to be on the 25th again with us. So perhaps if everybody's there want to put the cameras on, I think we might have a screenshot just to Roberta, can you make a screenshot if people are there, so that we can have a record of this very nice meeting? I can do it. Okay. Very nice. Thank you all, and I see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.